Welcome to the Ice Guys, presented by the Hockey Podcast Network. It is Tuesday, June 8th. Ian Cameron and the birthday boy, Alex B. Smith, joining me today for this Tuesday show and breaking down the Tuesday card. Before we get to that, though, a very happy birthday to Alex B. Smith, someone I've known now for almost a decade. It's hard to believe it's been that long. He has been my colleague, friend on this show now for years. And it is his birthday today. So, Alex, happy birthday.
Thank you so much, and thanks everybody in the chat for wishing me happy birthday. They have 32 years around the sun now. So, like you said, we've known each other for a decade, been working together in some capacity. So, I'm really happy to be spending part of the birthday today with you and all the viewers today.
All right. Awesome stuff. Oh, by the way, before we get into talking about hockey, let's talk about the store, the Ice Guys store, and the special deal that we've got going on with your birthday being part of that. Tell us about it, Alex.
I clipped out. What did you say?
Oh, the store, the Ice Guys store.
Oh, yeah, the Ice Guys store. Yeah, we got the coupon code. If you go to shop.spreadshirt.com/iceguys, it's 15% off of anything you purchase the store, and it starts from now until Friday. So we got the coupon code. Just you click at the top of the screen to hit redeem, and then it will tally everything up at your checkout, and you get 15% off. So that's shop.spreadshirt.com/iceguys.
There you go. Yeah, check it out. We've got lots of great merch there at the Ice Guys store. Visit it. Use that promo code. Get a little bit of a discount on your purchase for sure. Check out the Ice Guys store. Let's talk about last night. Obviously, we had a couple of games. The first one being the Bruins and the Islanders. And the Bruins, they started the game the way they wanted. A fast start, an early goal by David Pastrnak, shooting the puck, which was a area of focus for the Bruins going into Game 5 in that particular hockey game. And they came out with the start they wanted. Unfortunately, the Island penalty trouble is what got the Bruins last night. They couldn't stay out of the box. However, some of those penalties were warranted. And it's not so much that the penalties that were called on Boston last night weren't warranted. It's that there was a lot of stuff in terms of things that the Islanders were doing, whether it was high sticks, whether it was interference, whether it was tripping, whether it was hooking. There were a lot of things that Islander players were doing and those plays were not being called. And look, I am never one to really want to be that guy. And what do I mean by that guy? That guy that says, "Oh, the ref screwed us. The fix is in. Oh, they didn't want the Bruins to win. Oh, the refs just totally screwed us. The league doesn't want the Bruins to win." And that's the kind of nonsense that you hear, after a night like we saw last night. I don't believe that for a second. I just think that for some reason, a happenstance, coincidence, whatever the case may be, there was just a bunch of calls missed on the one side. And either they didn't see them or they didn't feel it was the right thing to call those penalties. But there were definitely instances of the Islanders, getting away with some things in that game. Like I say, a lot of the Bruins penalties, I think they deserved them. But it's just, and Bruce Cassidy said it in his post game, that we felt the Islanders were doing some of the stuff we were getting called for. And it wasn't getting called on them for some reason. So I understand his beef. This is a legit beef. He does have one because the Islanders were getting away with a lot of stuff. I remember there was a trip in the center ice area with like 4 minutes to go in the third period, with the Bruins really having momentum at that point. They had just made it 5-4, and all of a sudden that penalty doesn't get called, and it's like, wow. Unbelievable that was missed. And look, it really sunk the Bruins. They didn't really get anything generated with the extra attacker and the net empty. Now, you could say, if you're the Bruins, like, you can be upset about the penalties, but at the same time, that's not the sole reason you lost the game. Refereeing is never the sole reason you lost the game. And like I often say, when you get all the penalties like Boston did, kill them. Find a way to make your penalty kill, get the job done. And they didn't do that well enough in last night's game. The PK wasn't satisfactory enough. The Islanders got their power play going and made the Bruins pay for it. Tuukka Rask, surprisingly, it wasn't an injury-related pull for Tuukka Rask. It was performance-related because he was right there on the bench in the third period. He's not sitting on the bench with the ball cap on. If it was an injury-related pull, That was because they wanted to turn the momentum. He had given up 4 goals going into the third period, so they went to Jeremy Swayman in the third. And the poor kid, first ever playoff start, he gives up a goal in like one of his first shots early in the third to make it 5-2. But obviously a tough spot to put him in. So yeah, they have a beef with the refs. I don't doubt that for a second. But at the same time, kill some penalties. Don't break down defensively. And there were too many breakdowns defensively last night for the Bruins, and you don't expect that from them. And the third reason they lost the game, finish some more of your chances. I know you scored 4. Most times you want to say you can win a game when you score 4 goals in the playoffs, but there were a bunch of other opportunities that they failed to capitalize on. Varlamov was very, very strong in net again last night. But look, I understand being upset with the officiating, but we got to cut it out with just, that's the reason they lost. That is the reason, and that's the only reason they lost. I don't buy into that argument ever. That's never, to me, a valid argument, saying that's the only reason we lost the game because the referees didn't give us any calls. I'm not that guy. I'm sorry. I mean, I'm just not going to be that person that says a loss is solely blamed on the refs or the officiating. Did it have a hand in it? Potentially, but it's not the sole reason. You have to play better. Simple as that, especially defensively. And the Bruins had trouble last night against the Islanders. And now for the first time in this series, we see a team win 2 straight. Islanders up 3-2, and now a chance to close it out in Game 6, which would not make me happy as someone that likes Boston in 7 and the series to go 7. I'm thinking, man, 1-1, maybe 2-0 with those bets. An Islander win in Game 6, and I'm looking at an 0-2 with those 2 bets I placed pre-series on the Islanders and the Bruins. So we'll see how it goes in Game 6. Alex, your thoughts last night on a wild one. Islanders, Bruins, they're going to feel like, man, we outplayed them and we couldn't win it.
Yeah, I mean, they did what they were aiming to do, going into this game. They wanted to get a ton of shots on Varlamov. They got 44 of them. Varlamov stood on his head, made 40 saves. And he was, clutch when he needed, where, Tuukka Rask, led in a couple of soft goals and, like I said, ends up getting yanked. That's the real narrative. I mean, yes, the penalties, as well, didn't help matters at all. But like you said, you can't solely, rely on or solely blame a loss strictly on penalties. It wasn't like I said, that's just the way it goes. And like I said, if you have to, you feel slighted by that, then stand up and kill off that penalty, like you mentioned. So it's just unfortunate to see, like you said, if you like this series going 7 games, I still think Boston has a puncher's chance on the road, but it's going to be tough. I mean, obviously, the momentum is all on New York side, and them going back home where their building's been absolutely electric. It's going to be an interesting game to see for sure. But and then the call now, of course, is everybody saying, well, who's going to be in net? Is it going to be Rask? Is it going to be Swayman? That remains to be seen. I'm sure there's going to be, plenty of debates. I'm sure all of New England sports radio and sports talk and different shows are going to be raging on with that until puck drop for Game 6. So it'll be interesting to see what happens with that matchup moving forward.
Yeah, I mean, Bruce Cassidy made it sound like Rask should be. He's hoping he's ready for a Game 6. We'll have to wait and see on that. The line that he used was funny. The New York Saints, talking about them in that game last night. Look, he just he went in it. You know what was nice too? Usually when the coach is pissed at the referees, he's screaming, he's yelling, he's just raising his voice at the top of his lungs. Not Cassidy last night. It was calm. It was measured. It was, diplomatic. He had his beef. He poured it out there about the refs last night, but he didn't ever scream and yell and go nuts. And it was like some kind of crazy tirade. He was very calm. His voice was just nice and steady the whole time. Just, spoke out, that, hey, I felt, all the shit we were getting called for, they were doing some of that and they didn't get called for it at all. So like I say, I'm in the camp where the refereeing had to be a lot better than it was last night, but you can't solely blame the loss on that. Did it have a hand in it? Yes. But again, kill the penalties. Don't break down defensively like they did. Do those other things, and maybe you win that game. Jimmy, good time to bring Jimmy Murphy in. He's joining us here. Jimmy covering last night's game. And in fact, his question is the one that led to that response from Bruce Cassidy with the old New York Saints talking about the New York Islanders last night. Jimmy, obviously, look, the officiating definitely had a hand in what we saw, and Bruce Cassidy none too pleased about it.
Yeah, and I apologize. I was late. I was on the phone with my accountant trying to see if I can avoid the bill they just sent me for the fine Bruce Cassidy took. But yeah, that Man, I've got a good chemistry with it. He knew what I was doing there. I threw him a softball there, and man, he just hit it out of the park. And I think you pointed out great there, Ian. It's funny you say that because right before I came on, about 25 minutes ago, I was upstairs talking to one of my neighbors about it, and he's not a hockey fan, very neutral, objective, no horse in the race here. And the one thing he came away from saying that is, you know what? I don't think anyone could have articulated what he wanted to say there better than Bruce Cassidy just did. And I think you're right. And I think that's what you were trying to get at. He wasn't, ranting, so to speak. There wasn't, there was frustration, but there wasn't like a boiling over type atmosphere there where he was going to snap and, he knew he was going to get fined, but like he said, guys, I mean, and look, a lot of people are calling him a crybaby right now, but the same people had no problem with Barry Trotz bitching and accusing one of the greatest players in the history of the game, one of the most well-respected right now, and the best defensive forward in the game, and showing him complete disrespect and accusing him of cheating. Does he cheat? Well, depends what you call cheating.
But Jimmy, who the hell does it when you're taking face-offs and you're counted upon? Yeah.
If he's cheating, then so is every NHL player out there right now, okay? It's just, you want to blame somebody for what goes on in the face-off dot, blame the ref, not the players. If they want, you want the rules changed, you want them to enforce them better, then do it. But don't be okay with letting those rules go and they benefit you. And one face-off leads to a goal for you. Just I don't know. It's gamesmanship, guys. I had no problem with what Trotz said. I have no problem with what Cassidy said. I get it. And for those out there, I'm getting killed on Twitter right now saying, "Oh, it doesn't have an effect at all." Well, apparently they didn't watch the 2019 Stanley Cup Final when Craig Berube absolutely went off a lot worse than Bruce Cassidy did. And then in Game 5, was it Krug or Grzelcyk who was coming around the corner in the offensive zone and got completely – in the defensive zone, coming out of the corner and got tripped. And the puck went loose. He's down on the ice hurt, no whistle blows, and one of the Blues picks it up, I think it was O'Reilly, and puts it in for the winning goal. Don't say this stuff doesn't work. It does. And if people want that to change, well, the league needs to talk to the referees and the people in charge of officiating and say you can't be so influenced by coaches and GMs and the media and the fans. You need to just block that stuff out like you're a jury working a case. But until that happens, we're going to have this stuff happen.
And that's why the Bruins have a puncher's chance to go on the road tomorrow night and win games. They're going to get a goal or 2 or 3. You know it.
Right off the bat. I guarantee the first 2 power plays go to the Boston Bruins in this game.
Yeah. That's
what I would say.
It all the time. We saw Carolina, Nashville. Brindamore was not happy with the officiating. And then that was that next game. That's game 4 it was in Nashville. Carolina's got the majority of the power plays in that game. It works. It does work.
What do you think Tim Peel thinks or is saying right now watching this? He's like,
yeah, right.
He caught me by accident. What I said is absolutely true. And we do it every game. So, and you're okay with it. You, the people, suspending me for life are totally the ones advocating it. So I don't know. I just think if things want to change, the league needs to look themselves in the mirror and do that. Don't blame it on the coaches. Don't blame it on the players.
Yeah, I'm in total agreement in the fact that when the coach goes to that tactic of calling out officiating, calling out referees, especially in a playoff series, in that next game against that opponent, he's going to get an extra call or 2, and there's going to be a better whistle for him in that next game. And I would be shocked if there is not a better whistle for Bruce Cassidy and the Boston Bruins in Game 6 on Wednesday night. I'd be shocked by it. You're going to see them get a few extra power plays, guaranteed. They will have more power plays than the Islanders tomorrow night in Game 6. I wish that was a prop I could bet.
Yeah. I think the bigger thing, and I don't know if you guys have talked about it yet, but I'm writing about it and going to finish it right after this, is the Tuukka Rask situation. I'm going to tell you guys right now, I tweeted already to you, if you can find a prop that says Jeremy Swayman will start tomorrow, I don't know if that exists, but if you can find it, go hammer it right now. I am telling you, just on things just being around the game for a while and talking to some people with the team, Jeremy Swayman's between the pipes of the Boston Bruins tomorrow night.
There you go. And we'll talk about a spot for him on the road in a playoff elimination game. Talk about an opportunity to either rise to the occasion or crumble under it. We'll have to wait and see. But look, I don't think you can say much. You can't evaluate him in one period of hockey last night.
No.
It's never period of playoff hockey. He comes right in the game. He gets a goal scored on him. One of the first shots he faces early in the third period. His team's trailing at the time. You got to evaluate how he does in game 6. You know, he's going to be coming into the game right from the beginning. If he does play, that is. No score right from the beginning. And he'll have at least a chance to settle in. But yeah, it would be what an incredible opportunity it would be for him, though, obviously, to keep his team's season alive in a game 6 tomorrow night. So we'll see where the Bruins turn to in terms of goaltending. Seemed like, Cassidy did say, I assume he's going to be good and all that last night.
Did you see his comments today?
Lack of confidence.
Well, today he flat out said, I don't know. I can't tell you.
I can't tell. There you go. So look at the change just from last night to this morning.
Yeah, I mean, something happened. And guys, look, I support Rask, and I feel bad for him now because he's in a no-win position, right? Yeah. If he's hurt, he's not there physically at 100%. And usually if, you're hurt, you're not there 100% mentally, which you need to be as a goalie in an elimination game. Okay, so he go out and he likely loses. He gets shat on as he always does in Boston. Probably play his last game ever as a Bruin. He's facing unrestricted free agency and end his career that way in Boston. But if he doesn't play and the Bruins lose, then the Rask haters are going to say, oh, he's a he couldn't handle it, and he's not tough enough, and he let his team down again, just like they did last year when he left the bubble for his sick daughter. What a horrible father to do that. But that's what's going to happen. Yeah, that's right. You're right. He can't win. They'll find something to criticize that, he comes back, plays, they lose. And he couldn't get the job done. Bad goaltending. And he doesn't come back. And then all of a sudden, quit on the team. Right. It's like, it's unfortunate. It's tough to be Rask right now. I mean, it's unfortunate. This guy has been, a great goalie for you. I know the cup was Thomas, not him, but so what? He's had a great career. I think he deserves a little bit more props. And for all the Bruins fans out there that are watching right now that, hate on Rask, Alex, we know is a well-known Chicago Blackhawks fan, right? Alex, in 2013, do you blame Game 6 on Rask or do you credit the Blackhawks?
It was the Hawks. The Hawks, they put the pressure on late and scored those 2 goals in the 17 seconds. Rask stood on his head that whole series.
Yeah. It doesn't get to Game 6 without Rask.
Right, exactly. Yeah.
And I'll tell you this too, guys. I don't know if you remember the series before that, when they swept the Penguins in the conference final. That was the tightest conference final sweep I've ever seen or any series sweep I've ever seen in my life, where the teams are just really, really evenly matched. And almost you could say the team that got swept on more often than not was outplaying the team that swept them. And it was because of Rask that they won that. And I know that's hard to say in a 4-game sweep, but, go back and watch that series game by game and just really study it. And you'll see, Rask stole that series just like he got him to Game 6 in the final.
Yeah, absolutely. He was amazing that season. Absolutely phenomenal. I do remember that playoff run, and I thought Chicago carried the play in that Stanley Cup final of 2013.
Yeah.
That Chicago team was absolutely loaded for bear. That's when Kane and Taves in their prime, Seabrook and Keith in their prime. It was just an absolutely outstanding hockey team.
Better team
season. Yeah, exactly. They had a loaded team. They had a up and down their lineup. I think Patrick Sharp. I mean, you could go on and on down the list. Just an unbelievable team that they had, and they were outmanning Boston. Boston had, the issues that year that sometimes they've had lately. That's where's that depth scoring? Where's that secondary? Yeah, exactly. And Chicago deserved to win that series, and Rask gets the blame because the avalanche of goals in the final minute there in that Game 6 clinching a game for Chicago ended up looking bad on him. But really, could they have even gotten to that point without him? Yeah. Probably not.
No. Guys in the
that's the way you got to look at it. Brian Bickle. Yeah, that's what I was trying to remember. Brian Bickle, Mr. Glue Guy for Chicago in that whole.
Yep.
Yeah. Didn't he ended up with MS, didn't he?
Yeah, he did. Yeah, he ended up he had to retire about 4 or 5 years ago.
Yeah.
There's that story with him. But boy, he had a hell of a playoff season that year for the Blackhawks, indeed, and for the Bruins to extend their playoff run this year. They're going to have to win tomorrow night. We'll tee up tomorrow night's game on Wednesday's show. And we have to give our congratulations, clap, hats off to the Montreal Canadiens who finish off the Winnipeg Jets in a 4-game sweep last night. Unbelievable job. And first of all, look, there is a segment of the population, like there is with the Leafs, like there is with the Yankees in baseball, the Patriots in NFL, the Dallas Cowboys in NFL. There are vast segments of the population that hate a specific team, hate a specific franchise. And regardless of what that team does, they will poke holes in that team, regardless of what they do. And the Montreal Canadiens are one of those teams that either love them or you hate them. And the people that hate them, and I'm still not everybody, but there are still a lot of people, a lot on Twitter that hate the Montreal Canadiens are saying, even after sweeping the Jets and basically dominating the series and playing their best game of the series last night, if you ask me, in game 4, that are still saying, well, the Jets hit a few posts. Well, Connor Hellebuck wasn't that good. Carey Price stole the series. Well, this, well, that. The Winnipeg Jets' big guns didn't show up. Oh, Winnipeg's not a real playoff team. All of this. Stop. Give the team some credit. Give the Montreal Canadiens their due. They've earned that. They've earned it. You could say what you want about Toronto. You could say what you want. They choke in the playoffs every year. You could say what you want about Winnipeg. Oh, they're a flawed team in a lot of different areas. But Montreal dominated this series. And if you want to debate me on that, I will point you to pages of stats with expected goal margins at 5 versus 5 and power, and for the full game and 5-on-5 even strength that point to absolute dominance by the Montreal Canadiens in this series. All right? So stop with this nonsense that it was a lucky bounce here. Carey Price stealing the series. Oh, they hit a few posts. Oh, Montreal got – I'm also hearing the officiating was bad in that series, and Montreal got too many calls to go their way. All of this stuff. Stuff it. Please, stuff it. Give them their due. They played a great series.
It's like what I just said, Ian, about the Blackhawks. Like when Alex confirmed there. For once, give the team that won some credit. Why are we always focused? Even like you just said, with them beating the Leafs, like the whole narrative kept being on the Leafs. What about the thing that the Canadiens just did? I mean, that was amazing.
Yeah, exactly. And I'll say this too about them. This is a team that moving forward, and in this series they won it with a bunch of different contributors. Toffoli and Anderson were the forwards that carried them in the regular season. You can't say that they're the only two guys now that can score. Look at how Jesperi Kotkaniemi stepped up. Nick Suzuki stepped up. Corey Perry with some big goals in this series. You look at the contributions of Arturi Lehkonen, who just got in the lineup the last couple games, and he scores a huge goal for them last night. They have gotten their other players in the lineup to finally get going for them offensively, and that's been huge. They didn't have Jeff Petrie last night, who's a hugely important piece on their blue line, and they had maybe their best game of the series last night, and maybe of the entire playoffs, beating the Winnipeg Jets last night. The game doesn't even get to overtime if not for Connor Hellebuck. He was absolutely fantastic. It was his best game of the series. They controlled the game. Toffoli, Cole Caulfield, what an unbelievable pass to set up Toffoli for the overtime winner. Montreal deserves some credit. It's time to knock it off with the nonsense, all right? They got lucky. They got a few breaks. The referees were, favoring the Canadiens and all this ridiculous crap, because that's what it is, crap that I'm hearing. Enough. Let's give them some credit. Now, as far as the next series, they get some rest. Colorado and Vegas are going to continue to beat each other up for at least 2 more games. Normally, the rest, I like it. And I actually think this Montreal team, guys, they need the rest because Petrie's out. They've been banged up a little bit, Montreal. But at the same time, you're rolling. You're on fire. They've caught fire. They're running good right now. They almost feel like they want to get back out there every other day and keep playing. You're in this great groove. Does the break maybe halt that momentum a little bit? And I know there's people counting them out, because people say the North Division is like its own hockey league. It's clearly inferior to the rest of the NHL this year, the North Division. I understand there's people that think that. But I give Montreal more than a puncher's chance against either Colorado or Vegas, the way they're playing right now, the way they're defending, the way Carey Price has been, which is unreal, the way they're depth scoring. They're getting the first through the fourth line all chipping in offensively right now. That's not happened at all this season for Montreal until these last 7 games that they've won here in the playoffs. it's time to give them some props and realize that they're going to make that a tough series for whoever they face in the semifinals, in my opinion. I'm not saying they win the series, but if you think they're just going to get dominated and walked over, I don't buy that. I think they're in that series. I think they're competitive in any series they play in that next round against Colorado or Vegas. Alex, we'll start with you. Do you agree with me? And what did you think of the Habs sweeping the Jets?
Yeah, I do agree. Like I said, we have this time for us to give the Habs credit and not just kind of shit on the teams they beat. Basically, they will give Colorado and Vegas a bit of a series because of the fact that Colorado and Vegas are beating each other up and going to go 6, possibly 7 games. So that's going to be a bit to their advantage. But if either Colorado or Vegas, shows up with their A game in that series, it might be uglier more nights than others. But that being said, this Montreal team, like I said, the way that they're playing right now, and Carey Price, like I said, you got to give him, I would say, the most credit, honestly. He's been playing lights out, and, I think he knows now. And the team, we always talk about teams that win, sometimes rallying around certain guys, especially certain veterans when they make a playoff run. I think that's really the kind of, a bit of a hidden storyline here with this Montreal team. Price has played his ass off for years and has had some, disappointing playoff exits throughout his career. So for this team to kind of rally around him and his play and then moving forward, getting to essentially a conference final now, that's a huge point that I think needs to be noticed. And, if you can bet on it now, maybe look for some odds for, Conn Smythe. If they find a way to pull the upset off and get to the Cup final, even if they win or lose, Carey Price is definitely going to be, in high regard for getting that Conn Smythe trophy. We've seen goalies in losing efforts.
Who's the last one, guys?
It was Jaguar back in 2003 with Anaheim. So we've seen it happen a couple. I think it's been 3 or 4 instances in the last maybe 40 years. But that would be something to possibly look at down the road. But like I said, Montreal, they're gonna play with some effort. They're not gonna roll over in this next round.
Yeah, I'm fascinated. I'm very, very fascinated. It doesn't matter who they play either. I'm fascinated by this next series, them against either Colorado or Vegas. Jimmy, thoughts on the Habs?
Yeah, and look, guys, I'll eat some crow. I was wrong. I in the beginning of the year, I was high on them. I had them going to the Cup final. And maybe I forgot my reasoning why, and what my reasoning why was there. And now it's becoming clearly evident is that this team wasn't necessarily built for the fast, high-end skill, finesse type regular season. This team was built, I don't care how you make it, just get to the playoffs, and that's when you're going to shine because that's what you're built for. And we look at this league right now, right? They're a copycat league. What type of team were the Washington Capitals in 2018? What type of team were the St. Louis Blues in 2019? And what were the Tampa Bay Lightning like last year? They were teams that had a ton of size in their second and third lines. Teams that had guys that can pot in 15 to 20 goals a year, that are big dudes, that can play the physical type of games you need in the playoffs and deal with we were just talking about officiating, all the things that get let go, the cross checks or whatever, the targeting of people's injuries that we see in the playoffs. They can deal with playoff hockey. And it looks like Bergevin did a really good job of putting the pieces together in this puzzle and putting those type of players in there, a Corey Perry and Eric Stahl, a Tyler Toffoli, I'm losing my mind right now. Josh
Anderson.
Anderson. I kept thinking, man.
Joel Edmondson as well.
Good and Joel Edmondson. Guys like that, just guys that can grind it out. And teams are always trying to do that now. They're trying to copy the champions. And I think Marc Bergevin, it looks like, might have done that the best. And I'll tell you, I think that, I get what you're saying, Alex, but I think they have a much better shot than maybe you're thinking against those two teams, because you look at Colorado and Vegas right now, they're great. This is a battle of the Titans. I get it. And they're way more skilled than the Montreal Canadiens. But do the Canadiens have more of the type of players I just mentioned than those two teams? That's what I think ends up winning in the end as you go on in the playoffs. Yeah, skill wins. And if you can have a blend, but I don't know. I just feel like there's something about this team right now, and they're coming together. You mentioned Price. They're definitely rallying around him. Sometimes you got to just read the tea leaves, and there could be something special going on here with this team. Maybe I'm getting ahead of myself, and I know I'm pulling a 180, but something interests me about this team right now.
And your point's exactly right on, and that they're better built for playoff success and winning at this time of year than in the regular season because of the way they're constructed, no question, with a defense that's been very solid, the back end, the elite goalie, the 4 forward lines that are big, strong, can skate, they can do all of that, they can make plays, they can do all of that. And now they're getting that depth scoring. Like I said, it's not just a Fleury and Anderson
anymore. Petrie. If Petrie can't come back, that worries me a lot. Because they'll miss him. He's huge. You remember what they looked like without him on that blue line down the stretch. So that's a big loss.
It would be, and we're going to have to see if he can return for that series. And again, that'll put a lot more minutes and pressure on Weber. On Sherratt has been brilliant. I'm not just saying that because he's from my home of Hamilton. He's been amazing, Ben Sherratt, in this series for the Montreal Canadiens, beating his old team. Maybe he should have kept Ben Sherratt. If you're the Winnipeg Jets as well, looking at being eliminated by the Montreal Canadiens. But yeah, he's had a great series. Edmondson been terrific. I don't like the fact that, Gustafsson, give him credit. Power play goal, great shot. That's the strength, the offensive side of it. I still don't know if I'd want to see more of him and Brett Kulak, because those are the 2 areas where you can do some damage against Montreal.
Romanoff in. I love Romanoff.
Yeah, exactly. Romanov should definitely keep stay in the lineup.
He could be a stud.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it was nice to actually see him finally get in. One quick mention about the Jets. Very simple. Too many passengers in this series. Nothing out of Kyle Connor. Nothing out of Blake Wheeler. Nothing out of it. Ehlers had some chances, but not enough offensive production. And Pierre-Luc Dubois, just a complete invisible man. Couldn't find him with a telescope on the ice in that series. Oh, I did see him a couple of times taking dumbass, stupid, selfish penalties. That's about it for the Winnipeg Jets. So disappointing for him. And they've got some choices to make in the offseason and decisions to make at this point in time with how they tweak this roster. Because, look, after the way they swept Edmonton, to turn around and get swept by Montreal, that's a bitter pill to swallow. That's a tough end to the season.
How does Paul Maurice feel about that Scheifele cheap shot right now? He's going to defend it.
And then Scheifele, couldn't even get back in the series.
Don't tell me that wasn't a huge factor there, because that eliminated the biggest advantage they had in that series, and that was up the middle. Like just a dump. And, like you said, Dubois had to step up, but still, I mean, that was a selfish Nazem Kadri type thing to do,
No, 100% right. That ended up being significant because it takes another center, another top 6 forward away. And again, Wheeler, nothing. Connor, nothing. Ehlers came back, not a great series. He had chances. I thought he was good. He was active. Look, Adam Lowry is your best offensive forward. He got problems in the playoff series, and he was for the Winnipeg Jets, although he's the one forward that did show up. I loved Adam Lowry's game for the Winnipeg Jets in this series. Unfortunately, he was one of the few that ended up playing well up front. And look, when he's your leading goal scorer up front and the only goals you get in a must-win game are from Logan Stanley, you got problems, essentially. So tough way to go for the Winnipeg Jets, getting dominated, but Montreal earned it. Dominating series sweep, and they're on to the semifinals. And we're on to breaking down the card tonight, Tuesday's games. Let's get to it. We'll start with the Tampa Bay Lightning and the Carolina Hurricanes. Tampa Bay -115 to -120. Road favorites here, looking to close out the Hurricanes in 5. Speaking of 5, the total 5.5 here, shaded to the under in this one. Tampa Bay did fail in Game 5 against Florida on the road to close out the Panthers. Remember, the Panthers won Game 5 to stick around in that series. And that's the game they put Spencer Knight in for the first time, and he was terrific that night. So they have shown that they haven't closed out a team that first try. And one thing about Carolina is I do know that they're the type of team that's going to give their absolute best tonight, win or lose. Question is their best going to be good enough? That we don't know. I lean a little to the Canes as a slight home dog, but I can't say I love it. Tampa Bay, has just looked better. And it looks like even when Carolina gets some things to go their way, Tampa Bay is coming right back down and answering. So we'll see if the Lightning can put it away in this one. And look, they've missed a couple of their key forwards. We'll have to wait and see if some of them are coming back. Specifically, Trocheck, there's a chance could be returning for the Hurricanes. We'll have to wait and see who they go to as well in terms of their goaltending. I was expecting it to be Alexander Nedeljkovic back in net for the Carolina Hurricanes tonight after the last game. Not that crazy game with the 8 goals in the second period was Peter Mrazek's fault, but I just get that sense that, after he suffered his first loss, they may make that switch. It has actually not been confirmed yet. So keep an eye on that. We'll probably know at game time whether he will be back tonight for the Carolina Hurricanes in net. Trocheck right now looks like the latest on him is game time decision for tonight. Nino Niederreiter for the Hurricanes. They actually are expecting him and hoping to have him back tonight in Game 5. So you could have both back tonight, Niederreiter and Vincent Trocheck as well. Warren Fogle also upper body injury, questionable in game time decision. So that's 3 forwards for Carolina. We'll know right before game time whether they play. I definitely lean Canes, maybe a small play on that. You know what I will be on for sure, and you can get it again at 5 dimes as low as -140. That's over 1.5, -140 in the third period for this Tampa Bay Carolina game, elimination game. Didn't work out last night, the third period over. Did not cash with Montreal Winnipeg, scoreless third period, but still 10-4 overall in the playoffs, the third period over in elimination games. I think it gets there tonight. So really not much other than a small bet maybe on the Hurricanes tonight. I like just the third period over here, 1.5, -140. Alex, what's your take here, Lightning and Hurricanes?
Yeah, a couple of days ago, I grabbed Lightning at -$1.10. I thought that was an awfully cheap price, and sure enough, we've now seen it go to a -$1.25, -$1.30. I think they'll be able to close out tonight, and based on what you said, because of the fact of how they blew that chance against Florida in Game 5, and the fact that now their offense is completely wide open. These, the 2-1 games that we saw in the first few contests. The floodgates have opened now, and I think that offensive momentum is going to carry for Tampa Bay. Carolina, they've played a great game. They've had some good efforts. Like I said, I just don't see where the goaltending is going to hold up if this Tampa Bay offense is firing on all cylinders again like they were in the previous game. So I like Tampa Bay to win here, and I'll be playing a small bit on that third period over. I found it at -$1.45, so maybe more like a quarter unit, half unit play. But I'm already on Tampa Bay money line.
All right, liking Tampa Bay to close it out. Jimmy, do you think Tampa closes it out here tonight?
I do, but I don't think they're able to do it in regulation. I got 3 plays on this. I like the Tampa money line, and I like this game to go to overtime, but I also like the Carolina Hurricanes to come roaring out of the gate and win the first period on the 3-way money line there. Some good value there. So that's how I think this game's going to go. I see Carolina coming out of the, just really taking it to them early on, then maybe wearing down a bit. Tampa, like they always do, hanging around, and then taking it to overtime and clinching the series.
Yeah, I mean, Carolina early, Tampa Bay gets stronger as the game goes on. We've seen so many examples of that, even in the last series where Florida jumps out quick early, and then they get better, Tampa Bay, and stronger as the game goes on. So there's definitely something to that. By the way, if you like that first period puck line on Tampa Bay, you can get a pretty good price on that, by the way, with the first period on Carolina, I should say, in this one. Let me just see what it is here. Yeah, -0.5, +175 there with that first period puck line. +175 Carolina to be leading after the first period.
And a note that I made, last couple of days, Jimmy. You say you like the OT prop, but you want to play on the regulation draw as opposed to yes/no prop on overtime because the prices have been astronomically different. We've seen a 40 or 50 cent difference, so you get a better bang for your buck with the regulation draw as opposed to the yes/no overtime prop.
Exactly.
Yeah, bet the draw. Don't bet those overtime props. I agree. 100% can back up what Alex is saying. There's been a value decline significantly going to the overtime prop rather than the draw option. It's a 3-way money line, the regulation draw, whatever you want to call it. Make sure that's what you're betting if you like these games in the playoffs to go to overtime. 100% right about that. Next up, we've got the Vegas Golden Knights and the Colorado Avalanche, -150. Home favorites here. The Avs in Game 5, 5.5 the total, shaded to the under. I feel like I feel like I can't jump ship. That's essentially what I'm thinking going into this game. Like I was wrong with Colorado in Game 4, and I worry that this series is getting away from them a bit because they've been thoroughly outplayed. Thoroughly. The last 8 periods has been all Vegas. They've dominated. Colorado can't get any inch of time and space to make a play. They got a Vegas player on them constantly. They just cannot get any time. They cannot get any space to make plays with the puck. We're going to have to hope home ice does something to reinvigorate and re-energize Colorado. And I think the fact that Colorado does have last line change makes a big difference tonight. They'll at least be able to get better matchups for the top line, McKinnon, Landeskog, Rantanen going forward. I think the first period here for Colorado is a good bet. I like that one. Don't know about the full game, but I think the first period, there's got to be a response early from this Avalanche team, having that home crowd on their side. And that's the one thing about Colorado, even in game 2, even though that game went to overtime, Colorado had a good start to that game 2. And they had obviously an incredible start in game 1, but that was obviously influenced by a brutal spot for Vegas, playing 48 hours after that Minnesota series ended in 7 games. They just got to be able to find a way to get better time, better space on the ice. They haven't had any. They've had Vegas players breathing down their neck essentially every time they've had the puck. The last 2+ games of this series, that's got to change. Starting tonight, I think the start is when I can bank on Colorado being good. I got in at -140 on Colorado money line in the first period. That's the one I really like. And I'm going to stick to the over again here, 5.5 at even money, +100. Colorado, I think, has got to amp up the pace. I think they will generate a little bit of more opportunity to get time, space, separation for their best players from this incredibly tenacious defense and defending that we've seen from the Golden Knights. So those are the 2 looks I really like. First period with Colorado -140, as well as the over 5.5 here at even money, +100 here in this game. Alex, what do you think here? Game 5, pivotal game here, 2-2 series, Vegas and Colorado.
Yeah, I like Colorado in the first period on the puck line. So you land a half goal at +160. I think they've got to come out guns blazing in this first 20 minutes of play to get things back on their side. Like I said, the last 8 periods play, they've been pretty much out and played more or less. And it's just we talk about this too in the playoffs, especially in these later series where breaking things down. Not so much game by game, but period by period, looking at it, like a map overview of the series. And that's the way that Colorado's got to play. They got to come back, one period at a time, and get things swinging in their favor. Use that home crowd to their advantage. So I like Colorado to get off here. I also like them to score first, but I definitely think they'll have the lead after 20. So I'm laying the half goal at +160.
All right, that good price with that. Minus a half goal, +160 for Colorado in the first period. What I'll probably do is if I cash with Colorado first period, which I think has got a good chance. I think they could have the lead after the first. I want to see how the second period starts. And if Colorado doesn't sustain that, the control of the game and keeping that forecheck pressure on in the offensive zone, and I see a little semblance of Vegas regrouping after the first period and coming out better and stronger, I might bet Vegas in game, to be honest with you, at that point, because we've seen it even in game 2, which Colorado won. Vegas got better. They had that bad first period in game 2 in this building in Denver. And then second period, third period, Vegas took control. We could see that tonight. That's why I only feel safe with Colorado first period. Could they win the game? Yes. Wouldn't shock me. But I just think the first period is the better edge for them tonight. What do you think, Jimmy? Vegas, Colorado?
You know what, guys? I agree. I mean, I definitely love that first period value you can get there. They're gonna come out strong. You know that they're home ranked. They haven't lost there in 13 games going back into the regular season. So they're gonna have a strong performance. I'm just wondering right now, though. We talked about center depth with the Canadians there and the other teams and what have you, and with the Jets. Look at Colorado. Like, it's not being talked about right now how much they miss Kadri, and how much that's hurting them right now. And we saw it happen, and it's sad because everyone else seems to realize what a great center Nazem Kadri is, except himself. He doesn't realize how valuable he is, and he commits these selfish acts. I mean, how many times did he do that to the Toronto Maple Leafs? So here we go again, where his loss could swing a series, and that's what I think is happening right here. So I'm just going to stick with that first period because I can't convince myself that the Colorado Avalanche return to Las Vegas with the series lead. I just can't. I got a good feeling they're going to be down and have to win a game 6 on the road. All
right. Yeah, that's my strategy. Colorado, especially if I see Vegas really coming out strong early second period. If they get down 1-0 or whatever the case may be, have a rough first period, which I think could happen, but they regroup and they come out and take over the game in the second period like they did in game 2, it's a live Vegas bet for me at that time. I'll be jumping in for sure on the Golden. Look, I'm tied up in Colorado too much as it is. Colorado for the series and the -1.5 games, which is looking really not likely at this point in time. But so I'm going to be jumping in on Vegas if they come out strong second period and look like they could be turning the tide a little bit tonight. It's a great game for live betting from that standpoint, no question.
And jump maybe on Pacioretty to score. I mean, he's been unreal, or even just register a point. He's been unreal since he came. This is the best hockey I've ever seen him play, and I've watched him many years when he was in Montreal. So he's playing probably the best hockey of his life right now.
Yeah, he's playing great. Obviously, Pacioretty coming back has been huge for them. And Marchessault has stepped up significantly the last few games as well. Jonathan Marchessault been excellent as well. And Jimmy's point is absolutely right about Kadri being out, because now McKinnon, Jost, Compher, and Belmar, and they've had to move Jost over, play a little bit more center for him. And that's been an adjustment here for the Colorado Avalanche. By the way, Kadri would not be eligible to return until a game 7 in this series, if there is one. That would be the first game he'd be able to play.
Okay, so game 7, huh? Because the way they worded that in the press release they sent to us earlier today was weird.
Yes.
But,
Yeah, it would be game 7. So but the bottom line is, as long as Colorado doesn't lose 2 in a row here out of the Vegas Golden Knights, then they are going to be in a situation where they'll at least get Kadri back for one more game tonight in a potential game 7. But obviously a huge game. And this game will be on our BetCast Thursday night, which will be game 6 in Las Vegas. A great game that should be. We're hoping for it because it's a part of our BetCast, but that is a game that I can't wait to see. I hope you join us Thursday night. Time to be determined. Once we know the game, the time, the schedule, and the time for the 2 games on Thursday, that is when the BetCast will be. So Thursday night, the 4th, Ice Guys Stanley Cup Playoffs live BetCast Thursday night. Make sure you join us. DM me, Alex, Jimmy, Ice Guys Twitter, anything, any one of those to reserve your spot on the actual BetCast. So to join us Thursday night live during, at the very least, the Vegas Colorado game. Perhaps we'll get Carolina Tampa game 6 as well. We'll see about that. But absolutely, we'll have Colorado Vegas game 6 Thursday night on our next Ice Guys BetCast. Make sure you join us for that. We'll get to best bets in just a second. Before we do, reminder, download the DraftKings Sportsbook app, sign up for an account, use the promo code THPN, NHL, NBA playoffs, MLB daily, US Open golf next week, NFL preseason, believe it or not, is just 2 months away. So good time to check out DraftKings Sportsbook. When you download the app, sign up for an account, you'll get bet boosts, weekly deposit, weekly specials, weekly incentives, deposit bonuses, and more. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app, sign up for an account, and use the promo code THPN. All right, it is time for best bets for this Tuesday slate. Alex, we'll start with you. What do you like for best bet tonight?
Yeah, I'm going to go with Tampa Bay Lightning and money line. You can find it, shop around minus $1.20. Shouldn't be anything higher than $1.25 right now, so good time to strike on that. I think they'll be able to get the job done and close things out. Like I said, they got the offense rolling now. Vasilevsky's still been lights out. I think, like I said, that last game was just more of an anomaly. I think we're going to see him get back to form, and Tampa Bay moves on to the next round.
All right, very good. Tampa Bay minus 120 to finish off the Carolina Hurricanes tonight. Best bet for Alex B. Smith. Jimmy Murphy, what do you like here for best bet?
I'm right with Alex. Give me the same thing.
All right, excellent. Tampa Bay minus 120. Finish off the Hurricanes. Best bet for Jimmy Murphy. Mine is going to be Colorado and Vegas over 5.5, plus 100 in that game. I think we'll get over that number. It's imperative Colorado be assertive and aggressive early. And I think if that happens, Vegas has got the ability to maybe counterpunch and score themselves. They've got their offense going. They've got their forecheck game going. And if Colorado takes the lead early, which I think they will, I don't think they've got it in them at the moment to totally run away and hide. So I think that's why this game ends up being a bit of a back and forth affair with both teams finding the back of the net. We'll go with Vegas, Colorado over 5.5 plus 100 for my best bet tonight. And that'll wrap up this edition of the Ice Guys. Thanks to everyone in the chat for tuning in. One of our loyal viewers and listeners, by the way, is Dylan Turner. We know him as Turnsy, apparently involved in an accident of some kind. So we wish him well, good health. Get well soon, get better, be on the mend, and we hope to see you back. That was obviously very upsetting to hear that. So we wish him well, Turnsy, and hope he recovers in a quick timely manner from the accident that he's gone through. But we wish him well. The Ice Guys, by the way, 7 days a week, Monday to Friday, 2 p.m. Eastern, Saturday, Sunday, noon Eastern on YouTube. If you can't watch the show live, download the Ice Guys in audio form in terms of our podcast, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, and iHeart. Make sure you download and listen to the podcast of the Ice Guys if you can't watch us live. For Alex B. Smith and Jimmy Murphy, I'm Ian Cameron. Have a great Tuesday night. Enjoy the games and good luck. And we'll talk to you again tomorrow on Wednesday for another edition of the Ice Guys presented by the Hockey Podcast Network.